Hi there, this is Dr. Evan O.S.A.R. with the Integrative Movement Institute. Welcome to this edition of Integrative Movement Insider. I'm down here locked away in deep, dark part of Texas. Actually, it's Houston, Texas, on my writing sabbatical, working on and going to get real close to finishing the second edition of Corrective Exercise Solutions to Common Hip and Shoulder Dysfunction. And discussing shoulder issues this month in February, because we're in February now, we're discussing the rotator cuff on Two Anatomy Geeks. That's a 3-part series we have coming up this month, starting not this Saturday, but next Saturday, which I believe is February 13th. 3-part series on the rotator cuff. Because if you work with older clients, you know so many older individuals experience chronic rotator cuff issues or chronic shoulder issues, oftentimes related to their rotator cuff. And one of my best friends, Pete, is actually on here watching. What's up, buddy? I remember a conversation Pete and I had. We were driving in his car, and this is years and years ago. And I had just come out with my first book, Form and Function. It was a book that I wrote for massage therapy school. And we're talking about the shoulders, and my buddy Pete is like crazy strong. He's got crazy strength, and like he would warm up bench press with 225, and here I am like with 135. And you know, he's built for things like lifting heavy weights. And I remember him saying something to me that stuck with me, because Pete's a retired cop, 25 years on the service, so appreciate all the cops, the police officers that serve and protect us. So one of the things he said to me was, you know, yeah, I don't train rotator cuff. I think that actually messes the shoulder up. And even though, you know, he's not a scientific kind of guy that way, he's very intuitive and he's very smart about how he uses his body. So I started thinking about what he said, and it really dawned on me, because if you know my history, I have a history of chronic shoulder issues. And early on in my rehab, when I first went to rehab, the very first time, back in 1995, I believe it was, when I was in chiropractic school, I'm dating myself here a little bit, what did they have me doing? I'm like, hey man, got some shoulder issues, some impingement issues. I didn't say impingement because I didn't know what that was, but I got some shoulder issues. And what did they have me doing? Stretch out your chest, because you've got these really forward shoulders. Stretch out your upper traps, because you've got these really tight shoulders and elevated shoulders. And really work on scapular retraction and scapular depression. And for a period of time, that worked. Until it didn't work. And then I went back to rehab, and they had me do more scapular retraction and scapular depression. And all these crazy exercises, external rotation, and all these I's, Y's, T's, and W's, and all these crazy little things they had me do. And then my shoulders kept getting worse, to the point where at one point, when I was at my strongest, I could do 90 pounds seated dumbbell press overhead. Now the form wasn't so great. It was more like one of these things, right? But 90 pounds in each hand, pretty solid amount of weight. To the point where I could no longer lift 10-pound dumbbell overhead, and my arm was shaking. And that's what happens when you tear your rotator cuff and labral tears. And those tears were directly related to, yes, my poor form when I was younger and just beating my shoulders up, but they were also related to the rehab exercises I did. And I'm going to share with you exactly why this can happen to many of your clients. What I want you to do is we're going to check a quick range of motion. And then after this, I'll invite you to a free training where Jill, my fellow anatomy geek, and I are doing next Thursday on the rotator cuff. As part of the integrated movement system, one of the things we always stress, and actually I'm doing a training with a friend of mine and her trainers today, I'm doing some consulting with them. I'm going to share with them the most important thing that we lack as fitness professionals. And this was me, even back when I first started in chiropractic 20-something years ago. We lack a thorough and thoughtful process. We just look for answers, solutions in exercises. Tell me the exercises or the magic therapy that's going to fix my shoulder issue, for example. So we chase the shoulder pain, or we chase the shoulder weakness or the tightness by looking for this magic solution and not focusing enough on the process. One of the things we teach in the integrated movement system is the process. It's not about your exercises. It's not about your manual therapy. It's not about what magic routine you have. It's about the process you follow. So the first part of that process is assessment. So I want you to do a quick, easy assessment with me. I'm gonna use my left shoulder. If you have shoulder problems, this will resonate with you a lot. If you don't have shoulder problems and you have great shoulder range of motion, you never had a shoulder problem, it may not resonate as much with you because you don't have an issue. However, I was doing a consult with somebody last night, yesterday, online, and she's like, oh, I don't have any issues, I have no pain, blah, 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 blah. And then we found like tons of issues that she has, and she's like, oh, I've been trying to fix my little distended abdomen, and I haven't been able to fix it since my baby's 8 years ago, and I showed her exactly why she still has a distended abdomen after her children 8 years ago. So people have issues, they may not have always tie it back to what their strategy actually is. So let's figure out some of your strategy. So take your right hand, put it over the left side of your rib cage, keep your arm straight next to your body, go straight overhead, okay? Just do that a few times. And again, I want you to really keep the arm next to your head. This doesn't count. This doesn't count. One of these doesn't count. The reason why you have your hand on your rib cage is so that you monitor for whether or not your rib cage is actually extending. So if you look at my range of motion, I get maybe about 150. This is the worst of my two shoulders. Come to the other side, wrap your left hand around your right side, keep your arm straight next to your body, and this side, much easier, much better range. Not great, but much better range. So now you have an assessment of your shoulder flexion. And of course, we're gonna teach you many more assessments in the next True Anatomy Geeks series. But it's just a quick and easy assessment you can do online, because we use this with our online clients as well. And you can do this in small group settings as well. Because again, you just have your whole class just stand there and assess their shoulders. But again, watch for their compensations and teach them how to watch for their own compensations. Now, let's do a common rehab exercise. We've all been taught this, and we've all probably done this with our clients. And again, don't worry about this, because I've jacked up more shoulders than you ever will. So don't worry about what's gonna happen to your thought process after you go through this. All right, take your band. Take a light band so you don't crush your shoulders. And let's just do 10 repetitions of this very common shoulder routine, shoulder rehab exercise. And again, every physical therapy clinic, I should say virtually every physical therapy clinic, and chiropractors do it too, and manual therapists do it as well, and trainers do it as well. Let's strengthen those posterior delts and the rotator cuff and the scapular retractors, okay? Just 10 reps, okay? Now remember I said, if you don't have shoulder issues, you may not resonate with this as much as you would if you don't have shoulder issues, okay? So that's about 10 repetitions. Now, you want to evaluate what impact that exercise had on your system, because every single thing you do to your body has an impact. Your nervous system will let you know if you actually pay attention to it. So let's go back to our range of motion. Let's recheck our range of motion. If you did something good, your range of motion should stay the same and or increase. If you did something your nervous system did not like, guess what's going to happen to your range of motion? Well, let's check and see. So feet back together, arms by your side, right arm across your body. And now, if you look at my range of motion, significantly decreased. It was about 150 before, now it's about 135. That's one set of 10 repetitions, and I already decreased my range of motion by just doing a common rotator cuff shoulder rehab exercise. Let me check the other side. That wasn't as bad, and even this side is not as good as it was. So again, this is important. The importance of having a process and understanding what impact your exercises have upon you and or your client. So now that you've jacked your shoulder up, and I've jacked my shoulder up, and I'm about to go work out here, this is not a good place for my shoulder to be in. It's already limited, and now I just created more limitation. So we need to do something to restore more optimal function and optimal range, but more importantly, control of that more optimal range. Now, let's go back for a moment and think about when we first developed shoulder stability. When was that? Not when you were 10, not when you were 20, not when you were in your first rehab class or exercise class. It's when we were children. We first developed control of the rotator cuff when we were crawling, when our hands were up on the floor and our body was moving around that stationary arm. It wasn't in the arm that was moving, it was in the arm that was on the ground. The hand that was on the ground fed into the shoulder and into the rotator cuff. That's what ultimately developed the stability to maintain your support of your glenohumeral or the ball and socket joint. But then think about rehab now. Now we go to rehab and we do all these open chain exercises and hope that that in some way is going to improve our rotator cuff. And that's why my shoulders got torn up Part of the reason, and that's why rotator cuff exercises and a lot of rehab exercises do not work for some clients, many clients that we consult with in our clinic. So what do we do as an alternative? Well, the wall plank is a great alternative because it brings us back to those neurological signals and responses that are built into our nervous system that are ingrained from the time we're born. Now, many of our clients don't do well on the floor, so the wall plank becomes very effective. So here's what I'm going to turn around, but here's how I'm going to set myself up. I'm going to place the palm of my hand on the wall like this, so palms of my hands on the wall like this. It's important that the thumbs are facing in and the wrists are in neutral, because many of our older clients, their wrists are not neutral. When they set up, their wrists are in ulnar deviation. That's a very infantile position because with children, we come out like this, and then as we develop the ability to go into radial deviation, which is bringing the thumbs in this direction, which is where the middle finger is aligned to the forearm. When you're here, the middle finger is facing away from the forearm. And if you look at your older clients, when they're walking, you'll see, or even standing, you'll see them, let me get up here a little bit taller, you'll see their arm like this. Their shoulders forward, their elbows bent, and their wrist is in ulnar deviation. We need our clients to go into radial deviation. So do this with me. So just stand there, bring your arms up like this, go into ulnar deviation. Which direction do your shoulders go? They go up and forward, which again, looks like a lot of our older clients. They look like a lot of you, a lot of us, right? Now stay here, now go radial deviation. Pull your thumbs back towards your body and your middle fingers up towards the ceiling. Now what happens to your scapula? Now they wrap down and around your rib cage where they belong. So the hand is to the shoulder like the foot is to the hip. If your foot's not right, your hip's not right. If your hand and wrist are not right, your shoulder will not be right. So we're going to set ourselves up on the wall like this. We're going to feel as if we're pulling the wall slightly apart, and then we're going to hold that position and just breathe. When your client is able to, and they do it well, then you create a hinge as well. So let me just throw my hoodie up. So again, we always start with long spine alignment, as if we're being pulled up from the back side of the head and neck. Rib cage stacked in a line, so we're not lifting the chest up, we're thinking long through the rib cage, length through the back of the head. Now the hands go upon the wall, so I'm going to put a little bit higher so you can see. So they're here about shoulder width apart. So they should be right in front of the shoulders. And now I'll step back, so I'm doing an inclined or a plank position on the wall, and I pull gently apart. And I push myself away from the wall as I do that, and now I just breathe. So just take 3 breaths in, across your cylinder, around your cylinder. That's what I taught that woman last night that had that distended abdomen. She was, again, crazy fit, like 6-pack abs, but she still had this distended abdomen. And she was breathing all belly, all down here, not into her rib cage. So again, the same thing that helped her get her abs back, what she said to me at the end of the session was like, oh my God, my abs actually look a little bit flatter now. I'm like, yes, because you're actually breathing here where you need it, and not over breathing down here where you don't need it, okay? So again, long spine, stack that rib cage, hands on the wall. Feel like you're pulling the wall apart. Hold this position. Now breathe 3 times. In and out through your nose. Make sure your head is you're not gripping your neck, so just do a small head rotation. Do a small head nod. Make sure you're not gripping your neck. Now, once you've done that, let's do 3 small squats. So we're gonna breathe in, breathe out, and squat. Breathe in, breathe out, squat. Still feel like you're pulling the wall apart between your hands. Breathe in, breathe out, squat, and relax. Cool. Now, let's see if we made any changes. Again, that was 3 reps and about 6 total breaths. So feet back together, hands by your side, cross your arm over your rib cage, now go arm overhead. Now I got my range of motion back that I initially had. So again, I restored my range of motion with 3 reps, 6 breaths. And again, this arm is actually even better than it was before, so this arm is actually improved. This side is my more challenging side, so I didn't improve it as much, but I got at least back to where I was. Now if I do a second set, probably a third set as well, this range of motion in this shoulder will actually get better. And that's ultimately the importance of your process. You assess, you have your clients self-assess so they learn how to become aware of their own body, and especially if you're working in the virtual world, which we are doing now with a lot of our clients as well. You assess to determine your clients' suboptimal posture and movement habits that create tightness, discomfort, and or rotator cuff issues. Then you use your corrective exercises. The integrated movement system corrective exercise strategy is you release first. We would do some release, but I want to show you the power. I want to demonstrate the power of using the strategy without any release. You release to help align the joints better. You activate around the rotator, should say the scapula and the rotator cuff, the glenohumeral joint. That's what we did with the modified wall plank. And then you educate your client with the right cues. That's why we think about long spine from the back of the head, soft ribs in the front, create space between the ribs as if you're decompressing or taking an accordion and decompressing that or lengthening the accordion out. And then finally, the third step is you integrate this into the fundamental movement patterns, the pushing and pulling patterns your clients need to do to safely and successfully move towards accomplishing their goals. And that's how you become a specialist for your current clients and attract more individuals that need, want, and will pay you for your expertise. This is Dr. Evan O.S.A.R. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks for all those people that are on and all the great comments. Kelly, oh, thanks so much. That's great. Or I should say Kathy. So great to see you on as well. Thanks for being on. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for all you do for your clients. Like I said, we have a free 60-minute training, 45 minutes to 60-minute training. But if you know Jill and I, we always go over. It's not Jill, it's me. I always go over. Next Thursday at 6 p.m. Central sharp, we will be on. Well, the link will be next to this video. Mary will put the link next to this video. So we'd love to see you on this free training, and we'd love to see you as part of the next Two Anatomy Geeks series. Again, I want to thank everyone that's been part of our Two Anatomy Geeks community. It's one of the most fun things we are doing right now. Jill and I love that community. We love people that, health and fitness professionals just like you that come to learn, to get educated so that you can go out and enroll more clients into your programs and empower more of your clients to take control of their health and to be a leader in their community. So, Mary will put the link next to this video. Thanks so much for watching. Hey Annie, how are you doing? And we'll look forward to seeing you actually next week on Facebook Live before we meet up on Thursday. So next week we'll talk about how do you integrate this more optimal position of the scapula into some common rotator cuff exercises. Because again, some of your clients may need to do rotator cuff exercises. So next time we'll talk about how to create a more optimal strategy for training the rotator cuff. Rahul, my friend, it's always great to see you all the way from India, and we'll see you next week. If we can do anything for you, if we can support you in any way, please reach out and let us know. And thank you for all you do for your community. Keep empowering your clients. Keep a positive message. Keep the nonsense out of your professional business page. Enroll people and let them know that you're there to serve them. Thanks so much for allowing us to be part of your day. This is Dr. Evan O.S.A.R. with the Integrated Movement Institute. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.